You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Totemly Drunk, and tonight on episode 164, we'll be discussing the latest in Overwatch, Overwatch esports, see what's buzzing within the community, and so much more. Before we can get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who is sitting out with us on Twitch for our live show, and thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Edinar. And Ed, what a crazy week it was in Overwatch League. A lot of experimentation been happening, which we'll definitely be talking about at fairly decent length. We've had multiple looks from some teams. We got to see the return of SBB on stage. Houston ran DPS. It's been a wild week, but how has this past week been treating you?
It's been going pretty good. You know, like you said, there's some interesting matchups we saw in the Overwatch League this week, which has been very nice. You know, it's nice to see all the changes coming out now, whether they stick or whether they completely screw with us like the Seoul Dynasty does, is yet to be seen. But it was nice to see a change of pace. You definitely saw less 3-3 than before, but I think a lot of that has to do with the map pool, with Paris, Havana, Unana, and some of the other maps. So it's definitely interesting for sure. Outside that, it's been a week of World of Warcraft. Humble brag here. I'm gonna humbly brag. I've been working on an achievement for 9 years, and I got it yesterday. 250 months.
Nerd.
Yes. I don't care. I was so happy when that popped up that I got 250 mounts in Warcraft. Oh, so ecstatic. But playing a lot of Hearthstone. It's been a lot of fun. Me and you have some fun special stuff planned coming up for streaming with Warcraft too, so that should be interesting. But how's your week been? You were sick yesterday and you left me in charge of OW All by the Numbers.
Technically, you kind of just asserted yourself and said, "I'm running the show." I was like, "F it, I don't care. Someone do it."
Yep.
But yeah,
I was totally doing that.
Yesterday, I was struggling at work yesterday all day. I work in produce and I do fresh cuts. And my sinuses were so bad yesterday. My eyes kept tearing up, and they would not dry out ever throughout the day. So I could not even focus. So I got home, and I was like, I honestly can't even keep my eyes open. So I just slept. I feel okay today, but yesterday it was definitely rough. I did get to tune in for 20-ish minutes of the podcast and got to see how things were running without me. So
you had to make sure I didn't screw it up.
I had to make sure that that everything was set up properly on OBS outside of the webcam frames, which weren't cropped properly.
It was not my finest work.
No.
Setting up the webcam frames. I will admit that.
But that's an easy thing to fix in future cases. But you did a really good job, and I couldn't be happier with what I listened to yesterday and during the editing process. But it's been a good week. We been playing a little bit of Hearthstone. I still need to do the last part of the Delirium Heist. I did finally do the 4th one, so I gotta do the 5th one now.
5th one, I will say this. Turn on I forget the name of it, but right above where you click go, there's
the anomaly effects?
The anomaly.
Okay.
Wait for spells cost 2 less, and then just pick the Paladin regular deck. Insta-win. Because you get bells. And it costs 0.
Okay.
So all you need is one character on the board, and you can just build it up infinitely and one-shot the boss. So
Jeez.
if you're having problems with it, just do that.
And I've only like tried it one time, so I think it's too early to tell as of yet. But I've been having a lot of fun with that, doing the solo adventures. I did notice like Diablo does have a new season that started a couple of weeks ago, and they actually added some additional torment levels. So instead of going up to, I think it was like 13, now it's up to 16, which still isn't quite at like the greater Rift level equivalent of where I normally progress. So I don't know like how big of a buff that is in regards to just how quickly I'm going to obtain gear. So I'm going to check that out and level up a Demon Hunter like I do pretty much every season. But you and I are planning on leveling up some new WoW characters in preparation of WoW Classic. Unfortunately, neither one of us are in the beta, but we figured like might as well just hop in. I know it's been a while since I've actually played, let alone the class that I'm going to be playing for Classic. So figured we could get our feet underneath us a little bit, try out different classes, and just get the muscle memory back since. It's been quite some time since I played an MMO, but we're not here to talk about Warcraft. We're here to talk about Overwatch. There's been a lot of stuff going on, and that we just came off of a double XP weekend, which basically tied in with the end of the anniversary event. So we had this double XP weekend, which was actually 4 days. It actually went through Monday. So this ran from June 6th to June 10th. And, this is that would have been a prime opportunity for me to be like, you know what, I should hop on my PS4. And you know what, Ed? I did not. I was so focused on, trying to get loot boxes on my main account to get that Academy Diva skin. The one item that had eluded me outside of, buying loot boxes. And I did not get it. I had to use my currency, so I did get it that way. So I did get all of the cosmetics from this event. But I guess I'm just going to have to wait on another double XP weekend to ensure that I can get my PS4 account to 25. But, we actually have some console news in the hot community topics, which we'll be talking about, which could be problematic depending on how much people are running Baptiste. But I have to say, what was interesting about this is the timing of it, because I know Apex Legends was actually running a double XP weekend of their own, and they were basically doing that before the end of their current season, which is still Season 1. And I thought that was interesting. Now, in the past, we've kind of seen Blizzard titles offering, like, certain promotions, or, giveaways, XP weekends, things like that, when their rivals are kind of doing similar things. So do you feel like this was just a sign that they do consider Apex a direct competitor to Overwatch? And do you expect Blizzard to, in the future, maybe try to tie some of the scheduling of these events, like the double XP, around what, some of these other titles are doing?
No, I don't think it was geared towards Apex. I think it was more geared towards it's the last weekend of the anniversary event type of situation. Is it's Apex. Yes, Apex. I'll say this right now, is the hot new up and coming esport, especially now that they have ranked. Because there's no other new FPSs or BRs that have ranked out there that are up and coming. Like there's Fortnite, but we all know Fortnite's just a shit show.
Until Nate fixes it.
Yeah, until Nate fixes it and becomes a god. But I think this was more directed towards the last weekend of the anniversary event, because they kind of go all out on the anniversary event, like offering every skin that every other event shows. Like this is like a fan service event, and having the last weekend be double XP so you can get more loot boxes. It's more fan service. Yes, they release more stuff, Blizzard as a whole, in regards to other titles releasing stuff to kind of take away from it. But this is it's too minor of a thing. Like, you're not going to pull people away from Apex because you have double XP, so you may get 2 extra loot boxes you know, in a couple hours. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth it enough. Now, if they were gonna release a patch or they put something on the PTR, sure, then that could combat that. But this is just one of those. They just want people to play video games, and this is one of the big video game weekends of the year because with E3 going on, video games are on everyone's mind. So why not try and do anything to lure people from all genres, not just one specific game?
Which
so
I do quickly want to note, my favorite announcement of all of E3 is not actually a new release. It was that Arcade 1-Up Ninja Turtles cabinet that is coming out.
See, like, all right, everyone, you may hate me. Big whoop, Keanu Reeves is in a video game.
I mean, it's cyberpunk. I do appreciate the meme of Keanu Reeves aging from like the 1500s to 2077.
Mm-hmm. Like, whatever. It could be that he has a quick role in it. Like, he's 5 minutes in the game, and then that's it. You just saw a snippet. They just were doing it to sell things. Big whoop. The best part of the entire E3, and I forget the name of the game, the name of the company, all of that. But the guy who brought his dog on stage, and his dog just laid down on stage while he gave his presentation, wins all of E3. But yeah, it's just an overall big video game weekend. You even saw E3 take its toll on the Overwatch League. Because if you noticed on Sunday, E3 was streaming the same time as Overwatch League, and you did see a dip in numbers over what you normally see, like I think by like 10,000. Because usually it's about like 93 plus thousand. It was like 80,000 during the first matches and whatnot. So I don't know. It's cool. I didn't take advantage of it because I'm a bad Overwatch player. But
well,
I don't know.
To be honest, though, a lot of that was just due to some of the quality of the game. So, because it was rough, even in like arcade mode, which is what we normally stick with.
It is brutal right now. Like, I hate to say this, but it's starting to become unplayable unless you're playing with friends.
Well, that's the thing. Like, this weekend was the only time I've actually noticed it in arcade. Because normally, like, you and I, when we pair up, like, we could string together some wins. But, like, even when I was doing solo queue, like, I remember the one day, like, I went 0-5 when I messaged you. I was like, I've been in here for, like, 40 minutes, and I haven't won a single game in 5 matches. And then I won the next one. But it was definitely a rougher go as of late with the amount of people that were in, even in arcade.
Yeah, I had a match. This is the one that sent me over the past the full tilt this weekend as I was playing, and this guy picked Orisa, whatever. So I went Roadhog. Okay, he dies. Well, I'm gonna go Diva. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna, our team wiped. I went Reinhardt. Fine. He dies as Diva. Switches to Winston. I'm like, switch over to Roadhog then. I'm like, you know what? Fine. Died. He went to Zarya. I'm like, I swear to God, I hate you so much right now. I'm like, don't go from main tank, off tank, main tank, off tank, main tank, off tank every time you die. I'm like,
not to mention resetting your ult economy.
So it's just those kind of things where I just want to slap people. But yeah, it's been frustrating.
Well, now that the double XP event is over, we can get back to maybe a little bit more normalcy around here. And of course, what else can be more normal than us talking about new merchandise coming? Like, we gotta chill out the new merch, right? And you know what? Like, this one is not for me. Like, I'll be 100% honest. This might be more up your alley. I don't know. I don't do a lot of cooking, so, like, this is definitely not up, barking up my tree at all. But we are continuing to expand Overwatch merchandise, and this time, we are getting an official Overwatch-themed cookbook. Now, this is written by food writer Chelsea Monroe Cassell, who has made cookbooks for other gaming franchises. I know she has one for World of Warcraft. I saw one for Hearthstone. There's also one for, like, the Elder Scrolls. So this cookbook is going to feature over 100 different recipes from around the globe, all of which will be inspired by Overwatch, whether it's locations or the characters. So, of course, as a cookbook, it'll have, international food and drink recipes from each of the heroes' homelands. And, of course, they'll give some pairing suggestions for, what you can have with the dish or the drink. And, you'll kind of get, like, a tie-in in regards to a description for, how this ties in with the game itself. And the cookbook is going to be coming out on October 1st. Now, you are able to pre-order this. You can buy it on Amazon. I know they also have it up on Barnes & Noble. And right now, it's selling for $34.40. Now, I don't cook, so this is of no interest to me. But, like, I know my niece is starting to learn how to cook. She got her Easy Bake Oven for, like, the holidays, so, we've been making the terribly sized portions that Easy Bake tries to, shill you, which are, not feasible at all, right? Like, what expect? And it takes forever. But you know what? She's having fun with it. So maybe this is gonna be more up her alley. But what are your thoughts on just Overwatch branching out more and more to kind of incorporate like different areas of revenue?
I mean, once I saw that this was coming, it made sense because we have a Hearthstone cookbook, we have a Warcraft cookbook. You're not a big cook. I am a massive cook. I cook 6 nights a week at home. Like, I full on cook dinners basically every night. And I don't know if this is a big thing for me. Cookbooks have never been my jam. Just because, like, I don't make enough money to be able to make a different recipe every night that calls for 15 ingredients type of thing. But this is pretty cool. The Hearthstone one, I've actually have some friends who have that, and that one actually is more, it has a lot of like drinks,
Okay.
more so than food, and that's pretty cool. So I don't know if they're gonna go that route. Doesn't seem so with this, but I mean, this is pretty cool. $30 though is a bit pricey for me to get it. I'll probably wait. In like 6 months, it will be like $10-12 on Amazon, and then I might get it.
Well, like I was even looking at like some of the other titles on Amazon, and they were still like over $20.
Yeah. Did you look at the Overwatch cookbook on Amazon?
I did not know.
Okay, click on it right now and go to the picture of the teal coladus. I have no idea what that.
All right, well, let me.
It looks like
mute
chocolate
my
salty
mic.
balls from South Park.
Okay, let me mute my mic in OBS, and then I'll head over.
Yeah, but like they have other things, like they have the radioactive lemon lime soda float, which you could 100% turn into a mixed drink. So you have that. You have the biscottios. Kind of go that route. It will be interesting to see what they actually do, but $30 is a lot for a cookbook.
It is, and
Chocolate salty balls, huh?
that's definitely what they did.
Yeah. It's Chef from South Park helped out on that one.
I mean, I am a fan of soda floats, but that alone is not going to get me to buy a cookbook.
Right?
Right.
Like, there's only so much you can do with soda floats. Like, it's soda, ice cream, and that's really it.
And alcohol.
If you go that route.
Yeah.
Like, if you want non-alcoholic, it's those 2 ingredients, and you can call it a day. So you're not going to sell me on a float recipe. I even think the one that they show in here is, that is 3 ingredients: soda, bitters, and sorbet. Yep. All right. Yeah. It's a typical float.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but like I said, 35 bucks is too much for me. I'll wait for the price to come down.
Gotcha. Well, when you do, you'll have tons of Overwatch food to consume. And there's also something else going around that has consumed literally everything in its path that I cannot wait to talk about. So, okay.
That is the best segue you've had.
It's time to talk about workshop modes. We talk about workshop modes every single week since this has been on the P tier. I got two more for you guys. Both of them... Well, I mean, I guess one is D.Va specific. The other one is more of a nostalgia trip. But anyway, getting back to the consumption. You know, everyone talks about how great and overpowered Defense Matrix is, how it's the most broken ability in the game. Well, if you think the versatility of Defense Matrix is too damn high, you've got another thing coming to you in this specific workshop mode. So, we gotta turn to Darwin Streams again. You know, the workshop prodigy himself. And this one is actually buffed Defense Matrix. Now, I'll be honest, like, this is not a mode that a lot of people are gonna be playing, but I laughed when I saw it. So, what did he do? So, basically, Darwin buffed Defense Matrix to not only eat abilities in the game, but you're also able to eat people. I mean, it's great. Now, players don't actually appear in the kill feed. Basically what happens, so rather than actually killing them, the players that get eaten by the Defense Matrix are basically teleported 500 meters into the air, where they're basically deposited on top of a skybox, which is, you know, basically like what the developers use as like obstacles to keep things kind of contained within the map to block off the restricted areas of the map. Now, it's worth noting that if you are eaten with the Defense Matrix, you don't have a chance to respawn. So, like, there's nothing, like, too practical about this, but I laughed when I saw this. I was like I saw that, like, it's like they're there, and then they're gone.
Alright. This is pointless. It's 100% pointless. Like, no. Who wants a game where, okay, like if you could respawn, maybe, but okay, all you have to do as D.Va is run into somebody with your Defense Matrix up, and they're gone? Okay. Still useless. So, this is one I will never ever play.
Well, Ed, that one may not be your cup of tea, but I do have a more fun one. So, let's take a memory trip down Nintendo 64, the greatest system of all time.
Yes!
Which we both own, which is important to note, which is specifically why I picked this. So, while that D.Va one is not very fun if you're not D.Va, the next one is actually pretty entertaining. So there is a mod that was created in the workshop mode that plays just like Star Fox 64. Of course, Star Fox 64 was one of the more popular games that was released on the Nintendo 64. And this one is from the Reddit user Giblematic, who I'm pretty sure, like, some of the other ones we talked about were also from this user as well. But basically, you know, of course you have your spaceship. You're able to do barrel rolls, you're able to fight off enemies. And the mod does support up to 4 players, so you are able to dogfight against other people. Which is very important in this case. So basically, like, the control scheme is you're able to do the barrel rolls by holding the A or D while you are flying. You can also have your right click being used as the homing missiles. And of course, you know, you can evade enemy fire and attacks by doing a somersault in your craft by hitting the jump button, which of course is going to be space for a lot of people. So if you want to play this one, I highly recommend it. The import code for Star Fox 64 in the workshop is Y7 Ham.
I mean, it's fun. I was waiting for like a aerial fight type of thing to come out, and this is the first real one that we've had. So it'll be interesting to see if it catches on. Star Fox, I mean, it's an iconic N64 game. Like the do a barrel roll. Like I just remember that from playing the game. So it should be fun. You know, it's one that it will bring back the nostalgia, but you're not going to play it every single day.
Right.
So but it's cheeky, it's fun. I enjoy these kind of things way better than the last one. This one I actually want to play. The one before I was like, hey,
that just sounds horrible.
yeah, it just sounds horrible. It's like Diva in regular play. So I don't know.
Okay, so to rewind really quick, the only Diva one that you're willing to play is the DMEC one.
Yep.
Okay.
Or if there's a game mode out there where Diva is the one who gets murdered all the time.
Ah, okay.
Because I feel that Diva is what's wrong with the game. Just saying that.
Can be. Well, anyways, let's move on. Let's see.
Don't let Edna go down that route again.
Let's see what is buzzing in this week's hot community topic. So, you know, I mentioned I did not hop on PS4 for the double XP weekend. And this is something I found out after the fact, but apparently there's been some issues with aim assist on PS4 and Xbox One in Overwatch in regards to Baptiste and specifically the immortality field, or the lamp. You know, that's another thing that people have been calling it a lot. So basically, for those that aren't familiar with aim assist, it provides a slight lock onto enemies since aiming using a joystick is a lot less precise than using a mouse. And since Immortality Field is a pretty small target, and usually there's a lot going on around it, the crosshairs have a very hard time staying on the target, even using aim assist. Now, we do know that the lead software engineer, Bill Warnick, had said that they are working on a fix to not only decrease, but also disable aim assist, and that is going to be coming in one of the next patches, but when that is going to be, we honestly don't know. But I will say, like, when I have played on PS4, there have definitely been times where I feel like aim assist hurts more than it helps. And hearing something like this definitely scares me off. But it's also going to be kind of dependent on, well, just how popular is Baptiste on console. Just because, you know, aiming is traditionally harder, and the hit scan players or heroes are much harder to use, so I don't know how viable he is as a hero on PS4 and on Xbox, but it's just one of those things that it's like, well, if we don't have any way to disable it, then this is going to be a problem that's going to continue to, you know, reoccur time and time again until something gets patched.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see on stream, everyone. This is me playing the tiniest violin in the world for people with aim assist. My answer to this is get good. No, but in all seriousness, I rip on you know the lesser races of console players all the time. But
race
mean,
is plural. It's one race.
Eh,
you can just combine them all together. I mean, the crossplay is the future. You know, everyone's trying to make deals. I would not say that.
There are the PS4 players, and if you consider them also an Xbox player,
we're just going to consider everyone a mobile gamer.
They will straight up cut you if you call a PS4 player an Xbox player.
Fine, we'll only call them mobile gamers.
Okay, mobile gamers. Mobile gamers aren't real gamers.
Right, exactly.
That's just what Dr. Disrespect said before he got banned from everything.
Yeah, that's a whole other E3 subject that we're not going to touch on.
But yeah, you know, you always hear about these kind of issues coming out of console. Whether it was I mean, I remember the early days when console Overwatch was legit unplayable
Mm-hmm.
because of tourbillon.
Turrets, yeah,
Yep.
and so bad.
It was just the Overwatch scene on consoles died because of that. And I don't know how much it recovered. Now, this specific instance, how do I put this nicely? All right, I'm not going to put it nicely. The majority of people in the game don't realize when Baptiste's immortality field goes up to aim at the immortality field or the lamp. I would say 50% of the people, they realize it and they know they can kill it, but it just doesn't register in their brain that they should stop shooting the people in it and shoot the immortality field. It's just how it is. Like, it's one of those mechanics that the majority of the player base probably doesn't think about or doesn't do, because they're like, oh, I'll just keep shooting them, so when it goes away, I can kill them right away. Stuff like that. This is more of a niche issue with higher up levels on consoles. That is a very small portion of the game. And to be able to change a lot of the mechanics for consoles because of this one ability of one hero that probably doesn't get a crazy amount of play in higher level on consoles is not that big of an issue for the Overwatch team. They may get to it eventually, but don't expect anything anytime soon. That's just my feeling on it. Like, look how long it took them it took them months to fix the turret situation on consoles. This is 10 times less of an issue than the turret situation. Like, you're looking BlizzCon or later for this fix to come around. So, I don't know. That's my take on it. Get a PC.
Well, you know what else is coming around come BlizzCon? Overwatch 2! Oh man, I cannot wait.
Yes.
Allegedly. Now, okay, this was reported by Kotaku, and I know I can hear the groans already in Twitch chat. No, he is not actually hosting this one too, Bob, because I'm here.
No, I'm not hosting.
Unfortunately for all of you.
Yes. Ednar is the greatest host of all time.
So anyways, getting back on track. So there was a recent article and report on Kotaku saying that Blizzard has shifted gears away from a first-person StarCraft shooter. Okay. Here's the thing. We've already seen StarCraft Ghost. That was in development for a while. That didn't happen. Then they go back and they revisit it. Now it's not happening again. Just stop trying with StarCraft. Like, the shooter aspect is not going to happen as much as some people want to see it happen. But anyways, so basically, they went away from StarCraft FPS in favor of focusing resources on 2 titles. One of which is a given because of the Diablo announcement last year, so obviously Diablo 4 is happening. We know that they have a ton of Diablo stuff in development outside of the game that shall not be named, that's also on mobile. For those non-gamers. And of course...
Not yet, though.
Not yet. And Overwatch 2, quotes. Because that might just be the working title. But basically, like, this StarCraft game was in production for over 2 years, but was cancelled a few weeks ago. So they pooled all those resources to those other titles, which are expected to be the centerpiece announcements at this year's BlizzCon. Now... there's not a lot of details about this. Obviously, this was an early report. Obviously, this was, like, from one of the employees that was working on a StarCraft game that was in development. But for what we know, it looks like Overwatch 2, or whatever the working title is going to end up being upon its release, is going to have a large player versus environment element to it. Now, I know a lot of people have been looking forward to, more story, people want more lore within the game, rather than having to rely on some of these outside sources, like the animated shorts, which probably aren't happening as much as we would like to see. Same with the comics, which have been more miss than hit just due to the length of them. But they did kind of name Left 4 Dead as one of the influences for the direction that they want to take. Now, Ed, I know you and I were talking a lot last week about expanding the Overwatch universe in other titles, what directions they can take. And you know that single-player campaign has definitely been one of the more sought-after ones, and we've only seen, like, really small snippets. Like, we've had, like, the Archives missions, which is just one thing, basically. And, you know, some of those were, like, reskins to have, like, the same models in multiple events. And, of course, we have the Junkenstein, which is, arguably probably the most popular out of the brawls that we have seen, event or otherwise. So, now that we have a slightly bit more information, like, what are you expecting here? Like, are you expecting this to be a standalone title with a specific PvE focus? What sort of direction do you expect for them to take with this next installment?
Well, I 100% expect them to go pure PvE with this. I mean, you don't need to introduce another PvP with Overwatch, because original Overwatch is pure player versus player. You don't need to remake the wheel when the wheel is already good. Like, so you have a PvP scenario with Overwatch. So Overwatch 2 should be PvE exclusive. You know, I want to say it. What is that super failed game from EA? That's a big list. But,
Anthem?
Anthem.
That's I got it.
Thinking. There you go.
Nailed
I'm thinking more of like an Anthem type thing. Like Gods of War meets Anthem.
So Titan.
Yeah, like, or I can even put it this way: Destiny without the PvP. So you have the player progression, you know, through, you have the campaign, you have the story mode, and then once you get to higher levels, you have PvE scenarios you do with, like, raids with, like, a group of 5 or 6 people, or stuff like that. That is what I'm foreseeing. And, you know, they've probably been working on it for the past year and a half. They'll announce it at BlizzCon, probably show some short trailer, have a really basic-ass demo, and then be like, okay, this is coming out
tomorrow,
summer 2020. Like, so it will be almost like 2.5 years in development, and then it will be released, but it will be purely PvE mode. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think in Overwatch with that story-based, has raids or raid type situations, like you play as, you know, you could play as either Blackwatch or Overwatch, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have different type of scenarios, but like it could be a lot of fun, and they could really dive into the story more, which is the one thing I think every Overwatch fan wants a little bit more of, is the story. And they've been promising us more story driven based things for 2 years now, maybe over that, because originally they were supposed to have like a 40-50 page, maybe longer than that, comic that they were going to release. They announced it, and they said they're getting rid of that because they're going to be working on more in-depth, bigger lore situation, and it could be this game. I'm very excited for this. I really hope it's the case, because it will be my first BlizzCon. And to get Diablo 4, which honestly I've never played Diablo before in my life. I've never done it. Well, no, I take that back. I tried Diablo 3 because I got it for free when I pre-ordered Mists of Pandaria. But the click to move thing just annoyed the shit out.
Oh, okay.
Like, the click to move thing got me.
It's
like,
okay. You know what? They're coming out with Minecraft Dungeons, which is basically a dungeon crawler for Minecraft. You can play that. Okay. That'll be much easier for you. You can just use the joysticks. You'll be good.
Yeah, like the click to move, that it, like Heroes of the Storm, same exact thing.
Okay.
The click to move thing did me in every single time. But if they can announce Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, and the next WoW expansion, plus the next Hearthstone expansion, because both will probably be at BlizzCon this year. That's a massive BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
Like massive. So I don't even know if like my heart says Overwatch 2 is going to be announced at BlizzCon, but my head's like, you're an idiot. It's not getting announced at BlizzCon. Because if you think of it, why take away from the Diablo 4 announcement with an Overwatch 2 announcement? Like, you're taking two of your biggest, most anticipated sequels, or, you know, the next chapter in the games, and announce them at the same event.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna draw a parallel here really quick. Now, in StarCraft, they did mission packs. That was like DLC content that they released that were their own kind of separate thing, but, you know, you still needed the base game. I would not be surprised if they did something similar, like if you have an Overwatch license, you unlock whatever this PvE-oriented stuff is going to be. They could go that route. Then again, it is Blizzard. They are in the business to make money. It could just be a completely separate entity and a completely other game license. But when I look at this, like when I look at Left 4 Dead, well, that really does draw parallels to what we've been getting with the Archives missions. Like, I would not be surprised if you work underneath, you know, Jack Morrison as this new Overwatch agent. Like, we know, like, going all the way back to Overwatch Recall, you know, we could see the number of agents that were flickering across the screen. Any one of those could be one of the, you know, basic characters for whatever this sequel is going to be. So I would love to see it be that, but also have, you know, the villain aspect of the story. But, you know, I know you were trying to say something, so...
Yeah, no, I was just going to kind of say something very similar to you, is new characters in original Overwatch. Overwatch 2 could introduce an infinite amount of characters that Overwatch could plug into the game that aren't like, okay, you have no idea who this person is. Here's a quick 3-4 minute, you know, movie about it, and that's all the lore you're getting. Like, you could build characters up in Overwatch 2 and then slowly bring them into the game.
I mean, you could even do it vice versa. Like looking back at the, whatever the Storm event was, the Storm Horizon event, maybe that Reaper-esque Omnic will be the big bad in the sequel. I could see them doing that too.
Yeah, like, they could... This would benefit Overwatch Prime. Yeah, we'll go with that. Overwatch Prime way more than, you know, any, you know, shorts or comics could do. As far as lore goes, because you'd be introducing characters people actually know and care about. Kind of a la Heroes of the Storm. Like, you introduce characters in Heroes of the Storm and people get excited. The only time they get excited about the game is when they introduce new characters that they know about and they know the backstory. They introduce a Warcraft character, a Diablo character, an Overwatch character, a StarCraft character. Well, if you have all these players from Overwatch 2 and all these heroes and villains that you kind of get to know while progressing through raids, dungeons, all that stuff, and then you start plugging them into PvP area of the game, people are going to care more about that than anything.
Yeah, and the Left 4 Dead influence too does, just like the Archives, tell me that it's going to be 4-player based for the teams.
Yeah, 4, I mean, they could do 6 just to make it equal with what is actually goes on in Overwatch. But yeah, 4, 5, 6, something of that situation would be really nice. One feature they need to come out with though is clans.
Mm-hmm.
And the clans need to be cross game.
Which, again, this is going to circle back a ways. Blizzard still needs to add more friends to our BattleNet.
Yes.
Because it's been kept at that same cap forever, and they keep adding more and more stuff. But that cap is still at like 200, and I know for a lot of us, like, we're always at or near the cap.
Yep. But if they could have they've talked about this, is having like a BattleNet guild, and not just game specific, and then having a guild chat in game that is cross game. So like if I'm playing Warcraft, you're playing Overwatch, we can still talk in guild chat together, type of thing. But that's something that they could introduce at BlizzCon. I don't know. I'm expecting all the greatest things of all time to be announced at this BlizzCon
because
I will be there. Yep. And then I will be the lucky charm of BlizzCon.
So, the better question is, will you be the United States team's lucky charm? Will they make it out of the round of 8?
I'm not going to say yes.
because if you do, everyone is going to blame you. They will clip it.
I want to see who they pick.
Okay.
Once they pick a team, I will either back or completely trash the Team USA.
Perfect.
Based on one player and one player alone, and I think everyone who's listening to me talk knows who that is.
Does his name rhyme with caucus?
It may. So, yeah.
Well, you know what, Ed? I am going to be there, as are you, and of course, when I'm at BlizzCon, I will be, donning the third kit jersey that is on the way. I cannot wait to get my hands on the one that I bought. So Overwatch League, last week we talked about the alternate jerseys. They are now available. You can buy them on the Blizzard Gear store. And we did get to see the players actually wearing their third kit jerseys during Stage 3, week number 1. It wasn't just, my thought of, well, maybe they'll just have it for the game of the week. No, it was everyone! Which was nice to see. At least the ones that, actually had third kits. So, what's interesting about this is that there were a couple of teams that opted out of having alternate jerseys. So there were 5 teams out of the 20. So the teams that do not have one are the Shanghai Dragons, Chengdu Hunters, Guangzhou Charge, the Vancouver Titans, and the Seoul Dynasty. So a lot of the Chinese teams opting out of this. But, we did get to see all the jersey designs, and they do take inspiration from team history or, the location of the team. So, like, for example, I know the Atlanta one has a peach color scheme, obviously to honor the Georgia State fruit. And these are going for $99 on the Blizzard Gear store. There are not any, standard versions of these, like you can get with the normal jerseys, because all of them have, the player names on them. They have the numbers. So, outside of that, these are printed and created by Into the Aeon, which I know for some people is going to be something that is important to note, because a lot of people have not been happy with Fanatics. But, it's the same company that did the printing and the jerseys for the inaugural season. Now, that being said, they are kind of, doing restrictions in regards to, when the players can wear the jersey, so they're only able to wear them, 4 times throughout the season. So, more special moments, so we'll kind of see how the teams are going to decide to incorporate them moving forward. I would not be surprised if Atlanta decides to do it for their homestand weekend. I think that would be, a prime opportunity for them. But there have been a couple of things that I've noticed. Now, for one, looking at the overall designs, the 2 that stood out to me the most, and these were the teams that I was deciding on between, were the Newark Excelsior, who kind of have, the skyline. Really flashy merchandise, which looked phenomenal. And then the LA Gladiators. I went with the Gladiators in this case. I I probably would have went with... I don't even know what NYXL player I would have picked. Probably Nene, just due to the fact that he's kind of been the one carrying as the Zarya. But I went with Decay for the Gladiators on that jersey. But the thing that everyone is talking about, Ed, is that Toronto jersey. So, for those that don't know, Toronto, of course, they have a mixed roster. Their jersey design has translations from, like, a ton of different languages. The problem is they use Google Translation, and they're not right. So, a lot of people have been poking fun at that. But I know a couple of the other designs have also been getting some flack as well. And, I had good fun I had a lot of fun poking fun at Philadelphia and the referee jerseys. Making the joke of, well, that's going to be the only way they're going to make it on stage for the playoffs is if, they're mistaken for referees. So, there is that. But looking at the grand scheme of all these designs, all 15 of them, Ed, what were some of the standouts to you, and, like, which ones didn't quite grab your attention?
All right, the ones that didn't, that kind of sucked to me, one would be the Dallas Fuel. Just because it's the same design, just recolored. They just recolored their regular jersey. Like, that's all they did. Like, that is just lazy. Plain and simple. It's crap. The other one is that just sucked was the San Francisco Shock. Like, they look like... All right, it's camo. Oh, it's camo. All right, if you've ever gone hunting a day in your life, you wear orange hunting so people don't shoot you. So you have orange and camouflage. Completely counterproductive. One blend in, one supposed to make you stand out in camo situations. Like, I don't know. It was horrible. The Shock. That was not a pun intended. The shocker of my favorite pick is my favorite alternate jersey.
Are you gonna have to bite your tongue for this?
Is the Houston Outlaws. I love the Astros of 70s, 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I love Nolan Ryan. He's one of my all-time favorite players. I love those jerseys. And if the Houston Outlaws had one player that I truly loved, I would have bought that jersey instantly. There's no one on that team I love. And that sucks because I love this jersey. The other one I wanted to buy was the Decay LA Gladiators jersey. But I can't buy the same jersey as Totem.
I mean, you can. You just don't want to.
Yeah. Like, the Spark jerseys are pretty cool, but I already have my Spark jersey. Like, I have my Godspeed Spark jersey. There's no one from the Florida Mayhem that I'd want to get a Miami Vice jersey for.
You know what, Ed? You should have willed Panker into existence in the Overwatch League by buying his jersey.
Oh, I could buy a Panker one. And then I'll wear it at BlizzCon, and I guarantee you I'll be the only one wearing a Panker jersey.
Probably.
But like you said, the NYXL one's actually pretty cool. The LA Valiant one is, like, low-key pretty awesome. Just the design of it. So, I don't know. I'm still in the air if I'm going to buy one of these. But I don't know. What you said New York was your favorite. Which one did you hate the most?
Oh, Philadelphia. That was an easy one.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Philadelphia one, I just laughed at. I was like, Okay, so they're either referees or they're working at Foot Locker. Well, I guess it's hand in hand because it's kind of same thing.
Like
Um,
EQO is gonna look like he's actually in Brig Jail
yeah.
when he wears this.
Well, I mean, he is. He's physically there.
yeah. Paris's was horrible too. Like it's just black and gray.
Mm-hmm.
Black and gray does not work together.
Yeah, I also did like the pink London one as well. I did like that color in, but like I already own a London one, and I wanted to get a jersey for a team that I don't own jersey for. So that rolled out Spark. Obviously, I already have a Dynasty one, and well, they don't even have an alternate one. And I do have a London one as well. So I was trying to pick from ones as well. But the other team that I was like looking at was Florida Mayhem. Like I absolutely love the pink and blue, the Miami Vice, but I ran into a similar issue with you and the Outlaws. I was like, well, who's on this team that I enjoy playing? I was like, Saya player? I mean, maybe? But like
Yeah.
he'd be the only option, and like I couldn't push myself to support an organization that I have not been a fan of just due to the managerial movements that they have had just from top to bottom. Like I don't agree with the decision making that the team has had. Obviously the shift of the roster to all green hasn't quite paid off. But quickly, I do want to note, Mayhem Academy did disband recently, right? All of those players did stick together for contenders. They did get the Mayhem Academy slot. Apply is playing with this team. So there is that good news for the former Mayhem org players. So I'm happy to see how they are going to fare. But really, like, I was just happy to see that in regards to the Mayhem design, they didn't debate the community twice with that color scheme.
All right, so I actually found a jersey I might get. Tavik has a Miami Vice jersey. And
Well, it's retired now.
it's on clearance.
Okay.
So they have the jerseys for SNT, Apply, McGravy, and Tavik
Mm-hmm.
for $69.99.
So $30 off.
$30 off, and get a pluppy Miami Vice shirt.
It's not a bad choice.
I might actually have to do this. Ooh. I have to think about this.
All right. Well,
But-
anyways.
But no,
moving
you were
on.
talking about the, basically the castaways all joining one contenders team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited to see the castaways, the rejects.
Including Apply.
Including Apply.
Who was with their
iRemix.
prior. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. They did also sign iRemix, so I am kind of anxious to see how he's gonna do. I know he was playing with, I want to say he was with Sky Foxes before that, but I didn't really pay attention to that team because that's one of the teams that at times had like 23 people listed on their Liquipedia. So at that point, I just stopped caring and looking.
I don't know. There's been some good contenders teams. Like, you
Like-
look at the
like-
revival.
Like Fusion
Well, I mean,
Union?
like, so you look at the revival, the team with Apply, Mangachu, iRemix, Manitin, Paintbrush,
Mhm.
pretty decent team. And then you look at Team Giganti over in EU, and you got
I'm still mad about that. They
Are you-
debated us and did not have Davin listed on the Liquipedia page on Giganti, and then all of a sudden he reemerged during the announcement. I was so hopeful that he'd be moved
Oh.
up, and then that happened. That being said,
Yeah.
Giganti is going to be one of the powerhouses yet again over into
Mm-hmm.
EU.
except when they play NA. Suck it, EU.
Yeah, and while we're talking about contenders related stuff, really quick, quick update on Trials Korea. Our boys in Fusion University are already secured their top 2 spots and will advance to Contenders Korea. They are currently undefeated. They are 4-0. They have 1 match left, and they have a +11 map differential. So FUN dominated, even in Korea. Now, whether that's going to happen again in Contenders remains to be seen, but we do need to talk about the newest thing for the Overwatch League that is now on the Battle.net launcher, which is the Overwatch League Replay Viewer. So this is a standalone client, much like it was for the World Cup Viewer. So I know when you log on to, Battle.net, it'll be there in the drop-down for Overwatch. So be sure to check that out. So it's gonna include all of the past week's Overwatch League matches from any perspective. So I know right now it's just the current stage. So there's only Stage 3 Week 1 listed on there. I don't know if they intend on adding the prior stuff, or if it's just going to be from this point forward. So I don't know about that. But basically, much like the World Cup Viewer, you're able to spectate the matches. You can slow down and speed up for, easy navigation. You can do it for analysis. You can choose between first person, third person. You can have access to the top-down view. And of course, we're also one step closer to having our own replay system, which is currently being tested on the PTR. Now, Ed, have you checked out the replay viewer as of yet?
I haven't checked out the new version, since the one that released on Tuesday. But I did spend a lot of time in the Overwatch World Cup viewer. Mm-hmm. So I know it's fairly similar. One question I have for you, though, and this is something I was going to pimp a little bit later, but do they have... So when you have the Twitch subscription, All Access, if you go to a single player, follow a specific player, not the main feed, they have the stats on the left and right hand side. Do they not have that in the viewer?
I don't remember it being on the PTR when I was testing it, but I'm pretty sure they don't have it.
Okay. Because that was something that I was talking to Fowl, who is a fantasy website daily maker that we'll talk about probably a little bit later. And he was saying that if it's like that, he can pull directly live from those broadcasts, instead of relying on the Overwatch API, which sometimes just doesn't update maps entirely, and it would be a more accurate. Yeah, so he's like, if they have that, it's a game changer for them, and from a fantasy perspective. So that's one thing I wanted to find out. So,
well, I mean, either way, it would only be live in the All Access area. It wouldn't be technically live in the viewer, because that stuff is getting posted on that following Monday.
True, but he would be able to... He was saying he could...
Adjustments?
Adjustments, okay. If it's a map doesn't have the API, it happens every week, he could go back in there and get the accurate information.
Okay.
So, that sucks, but, Overwatch League hates fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know what? Just check out the replay viewer, watch the Brigitte god that is Haxel. Go see how much Dogman feeds in Waste Transcendence. It's a good time.
And of course, see how many times Nene whiffs. Watch me whip. Watch me, Nene.
Well, you watch him whiff, and that was one time. But you know what?
It was a big one time.
You know what? The next time Bumper, plays Roadhog, then you absolutely need to check out that game. Because if it's anything like the last time he was on King's Row and just hooking people off the map, so good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the community does with the replay viewer and analysis, all of that good stuff. So outside of that, in regards to the Overwatch League, we did have 2 drops in regards to players. So the LA Valiant dropped Bunny, and just yesterday, the Shanghai... I think it was overnight. I shouldn't say yesterday. Overnight, the Shanghai Dragons dropped Guardian. So looking at the Valiant, Bunny was one of their DPS players. He had first joined the team back in March of 2018 after he was traded from the Seoul Dynasty. Now, of course, he was part of that Limited Kai roster that made up the core of the Seoul Dynasty during the inaugural season. But, his playtime was pretty low. He only got to see 6.5 minutes on stage this season, compared to 12 hours of stage time in season number 1. And, of course, this is a Widow Tracer player, so he was not in Brig Jill. He was not played at all, probably because he didn't play Brig, or he wasn't as good at Brig compared to Agilities. So he was just kind of left sitting there, so they dropped him. And, the Valiant, they've kind of, shedded some weight in regards to some of their Korean players. They're down to 3 Korean players across the board now, so they still have Kariv, they still have Izayaki, and Kuki is still there as well. And then for the Dragons, Guardian was their flex tank, which honestly, this is a very similar case. So basically, Guardian was kind of like a in-between season pickup between Season 1 and the start of Season 2. This was when Shanghai kind of went from a Chinese roster to a Korean roster. They picked up, 4 of the 6 players from the runner-ups of Contenders Korea last year, which of course was Kondu Panthera, who lost in one of the best series of Overwatch ever against Runaway. But this has been someone who only played 2 maps this season. So, not a whole lot going on there, because Gamzu and Kaguri initially were starting, and then, for a while they just haven't really been running an off-tank, because they don't tend to run a lot of D.Va. So this isn't a huge loss, but this has been a player that debuted in Apex with Rox Orcas, and he was actually the person who bought himself out of his own contract because he was on that absolute shit show of an org that was Toronto Esports. So you know what? I applaud Guardian for that. That is what I'm going to remember him for, because of how toxic that org was. So for someone to go out of their way to get out really speaks volumes about how bad it really was back then.
Yeah, it's one of those things, good for Guardian. I mean, he not afraid to do what he thinks is best for him. Like you said, Toronto bought his way out of his own contract, saw he's not playing with anything with Shanghai, so why keep playing? If you're not comfortable with the backup role or not playing, then why keep playing? Especially in a foreign country away from your family. Mm-hmm. Type of situation. So yeah, it sucks. Guardian is a very likable player. It just was underutilized. Guardian. Yeah, I mean, what else is there you can say about Guardian? You didn't get to see a lot of Guardian, really at all, and just making the right life decision. Mm-hmm. So. Not big moves at all.
It is kind of a similar case to the next thing that we are going to talk about, which is also a player who's moving in a different direction, at least, so to speak. And that is that the Atlanta Reign flex support, Kodak, has actually decided to step down from the main roster in order to join their Academy team to compete alongside our boy Sugar Free on Atlanta Academy. Now, looking back, we just came out of the Atlantic Showdown here fairly recently, and Atlanta Academy took 4th place in that showdown. And of course, that was a showdown where NA raffle-stomped EU, much to the dismay of all of Europe. And of course, South America was there, and then they got kicked out of the gauntlet because, Loki Esports did terrible. So they're not going in October, neither are Australia. Feels bad, man. But anyways, in the most recent contenders, this is an Academy team that finished 2nd place in the West. They did fall to Team Envy in the finals. And, this move basically came after Atlanta Academy dropped their flex support, which at the time was Bird. Now, I do want to note that Kodak is not on a two-way contract, and I know Brad basically stated, like, there are some technical reasons, but all of the benefits are staying the same. He's still going to be in a team house, he'll still be attending, like, the Overwatch League strategy meetings, things like that. And this is a player who, initially for the Reign, we saw a lot of, like, split time between Kodak and Dogman. And then over time, Kodak's playtime saw a pretty drastic cut in favor of Run and Dogman. So, like, when you look at the playtime, it's 12 to 3.5 in favor of Dogman. So, Dogman has 12 hours on stage, Kodak only 3.5. And when you kind of, like, look at the averages, there's not really anything that really stands out between the two, like, huge differentials in regards to the overall stats. Obviously, for Dogman, they're a little bit more leveled out just due to, the lengthier stay on stage. But when you look at this team, I think it's safe to say that right now, one of the key aspects of Atlanta, at least on stage, is like their persona, so to speak, their bravado. And there are two players in particular on this team that embody that sense. Of course, one of them is the king, Baby Bay. The other is Dogman. So I feel like if they would have done this the other way around, Atlanta would have lost somewhat of their identity. But I don't feel like either one of them is, like, the guaranteed must-starter on that team. But at least Kodak, he saw an opportunity to play. He went out, he grabbed it, and it's kind of similar to what Fearless did with Shanghai Dragons. Fearless went down to compete with Team CC, which is also the Dragons Academy team. And, it's a way for him to keep playing. He's still gaining all the same benefits as if he were in the Overwatch League. And it still leaves him room to improve. And it still leaves him a way back into the main org as well.
Yeah, like, one of the big things I took away from this was he wanted playtime. Like, you're not going to sit Dogman for Kodak because Kodak is not that much better than Dogman in really anything. Like, Dogman is probably better than Kodak in the majority of things other than, dying first. You don't want to screw up the chemistry that the Atlanta Reign have, or as I've dubbed them, the Atlanta Fusion, because they are the Philadelphia Fusion of Season 1. Mm-hmm. They're not that good. They just play to whatever team they're playing against. That is what they do. They can beat New York Excelsior, lose to the Mayhem. Like, you know what I mean? They just play to whatever team. The big thing with this is, by Kodak not being on a two-way contract, he's essentially making himself a free agent. Mm-hmm. Because since he's not on an Overwatch League contract, he can sign with another team if another team wants him. So he's like, I get more playtime with the Atlanta Reign. I get to play with Sugar Free. Yeah, that's a bonus right there. And you also set yourself up to possibly get signed on by another Overwatch League team. Not to mention, with FU leaving, they're easily, I think, the best team now in contenders. When you talk about it, when you have Funny Astro and Kodak as your two supports, and then you have Gator as your main tank and Sugar Free as your primary DPS, like, that right there is better than Team Envy, right. I think, in NA.
I do want to say it is worth noting that for contenders, they still have to draw the groups, but, like, when you kind of, like, look at the landscape, if we're talking about, like, favorites in NA now, it's basically, like, Envy, Atlanta Academy, and probably Gladiators Legion is still up there, We
I
don't
would
know
actually put this new team with
in
Apply
discussion with Mayhem Academy. I can see that.
I mean, with Apply, iRemix, Mangachu, Manatin, like that's a legit team right there. I would actually put them top 3, 4 in contenders.
Right, but those are
without
the
Fusion
4
University.
main teams that we're looking at.
Yeah, and I mean, you never know what's actually going on with Gladiators Legion. You don't know who their tank's going to be because it's not Bishu. It's not going to be XQC. I'm sorry, people. XQC signed on with Contenders team so he could stay living in the U.S. Like, he's here on a work visa. He's playing for Gladiators Legion. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, maybe if they had Panker, but oh wait, do they have Panker still? Is he still on a 2-way?
Yeah, Panker's still on a 2-way. I know Legion had announced their team very recently, and their flex tank was Emil, who came from Angry Titans, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, who did the main tank for Team Envy sign with? The guy who filled in.
Stand One. He
Stand
also
One.
signed with Gladiators Legion.
Okay.
So they have Panker, and then they have Stand One.
Is Panker going to be with the team then? Is this an elk situation?
I have no idea.
Interesting. Oh, contenders talk. Everyone loves contenders talk. I know it.
Well, I mean,
No.
they gotta get it somewhere.
Very true. Very true.
It's just like, oh shit, he went there.
I am very interested to see. We're still waiting confirmation if Fusion University will get the gauntlet spot.
I think I'm pretty sure they do not get the NA slot. They have to get Korea.
Okay.
One of the 3.
Good. Good. Glad. Great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus. No? No? No Adam Sandler
I mean, I
movie
see what you did
quotes?
there. That's fine.
Yeah, good. like I was like, all right, did this go over your head?
No.
Billy Madison, anyone out there?
I was actually just talking about Billy Madison at work today.
Shampoo is better. No, conditioner is better.
Well, like, one of my coworkers was wearing a hairnet, so I immediately just thought of the cafeteria worker with the sloppy joes. Lady, you're scaring us.
God, that's such a Veronica Vaughn. So hot. Want to touch the hiney.
Well, anyways, getting back on track. So,
Whoa, that was actually
obviously-
more off track than we normally go.
So anyways, obviously, you know, we're expecting good things for Atlanta Academy, with or without Kodak, but they are still looking like one of the heavyweights to keep an eye on. And I fully expect Atlanta Academy to be one of the representatives come the gauntlet this October. Now, with that being said, of course, we gotta talk about the week that was in the Overwatch League. And what a week it was, Ed. We had some shit go down. There was a lot of experimentation going on. There were a lot of debuts, a lot of re-debuts, a lot of returning faces that we haven't seen in all season. So, like, just to give you a quick rundown of basically the new/old faces that we saw. For one, let's start with the New York Excelsior. We saw Samuel be back on stage. They subbed out Meko, and they ran SBB on Sombra. Now, the first one was against the Outlaws, and it was pretty rough. Outlaws actually played DPS, which I was happy to see. But SBB doesn't really play Sombra. Looked pretty rusty. But, you know, I figured that game was more, you know, just getting his feet underneath him. He comes out the next game, and he was pretty lights out, so I was happy to see that. So outside of that, we also saw Toronto Defiant. You know, they actually started their recently promoted Montreal Rebellion tank line of Gods and Shriek. So They had both their flex tank, their off tank. Both had immediate fan love and reaction from the crowd, which I was really happy to see. We saw Persia starting over Aim God for Boston Uprising. Yeah, he did okay. We saw Quartermain starting over Nuss for London Spitfire. Another one that was not terrible, but not anything like too flashy. Of course, we had Fact Fiction debuting for the LA Valiant, so that was his Overwatch League return after he was with Houston in the prior season. We saw Jichu Ren for the Chengdu Hunters, who may or may not go by another name if you've listened to Ed talk. So, you know, he swam all the way from China. He had a hard time holding up his hammer and shield because his arms were just so heavy. And the Hunters kind of lost their identity because they ran a lot of 3-3. And it was... Hunters need to do something. Like, it was a rough week to watch the Hunters, which is not something that we're used to saying. Like, normally they're competing and they're entertaining. I can't really say that claim from what we saw last week. But anyways, outside of that, we saw Nero debut. That's a DPS player for the Guangzhou Charge. He had just turned 18 during the mid-season break. And we've started to kind of see the Guangzhou Charge unlock some of their potential, because it gives them the option to run like Sombra Pharah comps that they couldn't before. And we saw some pretty damn good play from the Charge, which I'm happy to see. So maybe there's a lot more there than what we were initially anticipating after their recent hardships in, you know, Stage 1 and Stage 2. We saw Hylie and Illicit for the Seoul Dynasty. And, you know, I'll have more on Seoul in a bit, because Seoul kind of confused a lot of people. For various reasons.
Kind of being an understatement.
Yes, yeah. And of course, with Florida, we saw Fate re-debut. Of course, this is on his new team after he was traded from the Valiant. And they also played Byrim over Hagopen during one of the games as their flex support. So kind of like looking at, you know, all of these new and or returning faces. Like, what were some of like your standout moments from these players this past week?
Well, I think Nero played for the Charge was a big one. Now, he didn't really play all that much for the Charge, but it gave a glimpse of what the Charge could do. The Charge, I think, are going to be the new Chengdu Hunters. I think they're going to say, you know, F you to 3-3. And I think they're going to run more, you know, what they're best at. Because,
Right.
like, Nero is a god on characters like Hanzo.
Yeah, and it is important to note, when the Charge faced the Hunters, they were both running DPS.
Mhm.
And the Charge definitely looked like the superior team, even when they were counter DPSing.
Exactly. And they also have one of my favorite players on their team, so I have to cheer for them in the Shushu train. So that was awesome. The Spitfire, Boston versus Spitfire, that was weird, having, you know, Persia and Quartermain in there instead of Nuss and Aim God. I was just like, why?
Yeah, Alamon had also started over Kelix too, so it was
Yeah,
a completely different
which is fine.
backline.
Which is fine. Elmo, I can get they're trying him out, but Aim God has been one of the best when it comes to flex support. And you saw that they only played Persia for one series, like one map. In their second game of the week, they actually had Aim God in there, and Aim God, oddly enough, went off. So, you know, I feel Aim God's pretty good, but you didn't see much of Nuss. The Semiobi thing was interesting because, you know, Meko is known as one of the best divas in Overwatch.
Yeah, we've also already seen his Sombra, which was pretty good, and that was, of course,
Yeah,
the playoffs.
I don't get why they were playing Semiobi. I personally don't know if we will see Semiobi this week. I think they wanted to see how it went. Going up against Houston in the Spitfire to see how things panned out. So I don't know if I would expect it. Um, the new Valiant lineup was probably the most intriguing to me. And not because of Fact Fiction being in there, but because Kareev was their flex support over Izayaki. That was intriguing. Like Izayaki, yes, we have knocked his ult usage, his positioning at times, but he has been pretty decent. And Kareev, to his own credit, played very well this week on flex support. So I assume they stick with Kareev. Soul Dynasty, I just don't even know. There's no words for what the hell Soul Dynasty did, and I'm gonna let you talk about that.
All right,
that was just I just don't even know.
Yeah,
at this point.
I will note, we do a fantasy Overwatch League podcast, and during the Unlimited Draft, I was going to start, as I do most weeks, Ryu Jaehan and Aim God, and then I saw the starting lineups for both of those teams on their first game of the week. And I was just like, oh, like, I need to change, because neither one of them started. And then I swapped over to Unco, and I honestly can't remember who my second support was, but that's besides the point. But anyways, I had to make 2 adjustments. I did that really quick before the matches started. Okay, so Soul Dynasty in Stage 2 had pretty much the same roster starting throughout. You had Marvel and Michelle as their tank line. Let me rephrase that. They had Marvel, Michelle, and Fitz as their tank line. I feel like, since it is 3-3, I need to do this properly. Fitz, of course, being the Zarya player. And then on support, you had Munchkin, aka Brigitte. You had Ryu Jaehan and Toby. Now, that's not what we got. So in Game 1... and Game 2, we had 2 completely different lineups. So in Game 1, we had Fisher, Michelle, and Fitz on, that tank line. Fleta was in playing Brigitte. We also saw Hylie on flex support paired with Toby. And this was against the Florida Mayhem. Now, they did win this match 4-0. Going into Game 2, which was against the Guangzhou Charge, who, you and I were hyping up, because they looked a lot better this week, they ran Marvel, Zunba, and Munchkin as their tank line. Munchkin had swapped from Brigitte from the prior rotations to playing the Zarya, which is something that we did actually see during, the preseason. And for their support line, we saw Illicit, Ryu Jaehan, and Jexay. Wait, hold on. Is that right? No, I think Illicit was... I can't remember. It's too long ago. But anyways. Because I remember at one point we did see Munchkin on Zarya. I just can't remember if Illicit was on Brig or if Munchkin. I think it was Illicit on Brig. Never mind.
I
was right the first time. I was right the first time. Munchkin was on Zarya, Illicit was on Brig. Jaehan, of course, was playing Zen or Anna, and Jexay was there playing the main support. Well, anyways, both teams came out with a 4-0 victory. So Seoul, for one of the only times ever, are actually at the top of the stage standings with a +8. That's not going to stay. Now, what's interesting about this is over the course of the Overwatch League, we have seen teams in the past try to incorporate 2 different rosters. Now, what's more interesting about this is the fact that these are both unique to what they had been running, so it's technically the second and third roster. So now it's just like, okay, guys, what are we actually doing? I honestly don't know, Ed. I know you and I were talking a while in regards to Fantasy Overwatch League, and I was shocked that they subbed out Jaehan, because Jaehan had 100% playtime. And now I'm just like, do I move away from Dynasty, even though they have been statistically one of the best fantasy options out there? So I honestly don't know what to expect. What I will say is, both of these teams were primarily running 3-3. I am not going to say that either one of them was particularly flashy running a 3-3, and I don't think that these new look lineups are going to cut it against the top 5, top 6 teams in the league. But it's kind of like an approach of either maybe for the weeks that they have 2 games, they have set teams practicing set maps, and then that's how they're doing this. If not, I don't know what the plan is. But what I will say is, I was happy to see Fisher playing. We haven't really gotten to see Zunba or Fleta all that much. But I feel like, you're still better off running that Stage 2 lineup, because that was a lineup that was competing with the best teams in the league. It's good to have options, but it's very hard to build that synergy with your teammates if you're constantly flipping the script, so to speak.
Yeah, like, I think the Overwatch desk actually said it the best in the post game, the post show after their match. I believe it was Sunday, and they're like, we're praising them right now for showing 2 different teams, 4-0ing both teams, and so on and so forth. We're praising them for like using these different strats, but like after this upcoming week, like they went from 2 super easy matches to this week they play Atlanta and the Shock. And let's say they lose both those matches and they do the same thing. We're going to go from 1 week praising them for changing things up to the next week chastising them for not sticking with one team and changing things up.
Right. This is like a split week, or it's an 0-2 week.
Yep. And honestly, at this point, I think it's an 0-2 week. I mean, I don't think many people are going to have them beating the Shock.
No.
And Atlanta, who really knows? I just don't know. I think the Seoul Dynasty need to build around 2 players, and that's Jae Hong and Michelle, and figure out what they want to do outside of those 2. Because Michelle, you have the perfect player, perfect off tank, because you have a good above average diva player, and you have a very much above average Samba player in the same person, which is exactly what you want. And then you have Jayhawk, who's just considered one of the best support players in the world. I mean, it's hard to argue that. If Jonak looks up to this player, there's something to say about that.
Right.
You build around those 2 people. I think those 2 are the only ones that I can almost say are guaranteed to see this week. If not in both matches, and at least one. And you can't say that about anyone else on the roster.
Yeah, I basically feel like the game 1 lineup that we saw was kind of like their more aggressive look, because they had Fisher, Fleta, and Hiley all in the same lineup. The game 2 lineup was more well-rounded, I would say. Just due to the fact that, it was built around Marvel and Ryo Jaehan. I feel like the Lucio spot, like, you're gonna be good either way. Like, both Jexay and Toby can really pop off and get those environmental kills, so, like, you can fluctuate either one of those. But it did feel like each one kind of had their identity, but it's just a matter of, well, are all of those pieces necessarily the best fit compared to the iteration that we did see in Stage 2? And I don't see that. I will say, though, the 4-0 against the Charge did surprise me.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising to see them go 4-0 against the Charge, especially after what we saw from the Charge against the Hunters. Like, I was expecting a much closer match in that aspect. But it will be interesting. I think they're doing their fans a disservice too, because you want those certain players that everyone cheers for, that everyone loves. But if you can't cheer for a player that's going to actually play, or you don't know if they're going to play this week or something like that, you're doing a disservice to your fans. So, they're trying stuff out, good for them, but they need to figure it out real quick. the one other weird change up I want to talk about was Surefour.
Mm-hmm.
So Surefour basically replaced hydration. Because
I mean, I'm honestly not surprised by that. I've
I'm not either.
constantly talked about the hydration Brigbot.
Yeah, like I'm not surprised either. They did bring in hydration, but
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of matches this week, so
Yeah.
I may be wrong on this, but I believe they brought in hydration and took out not was it Roar? I think they took out Roar or the I'm drawing a blank here. Void, whoever their diva player is. I'm
Yeah.
drawing a blank.
That's their
Void.
Void.
Okay, they took out Void for hydration instead of when last stage they would take out Void for Surefour.
Mm-hmm.
So hydration still got a little bit of play, and we saw hydration on Pharah, which is his best hero, and had one of the best Mercy res like disruptions we've seen on the shittiest map of all time, Paris, against the Titans. Like, but it's one of those things where Surefour now took over for hydration, and I'm sure the fans of Gladiators are ecstatic about this. I don't know if I love it because they tend to do more cheeky stuff with Surefour because they're like, we have this one player who can do whatever he wants, play 20 different heroes. We're gonna take advantage of that, and that's not how you get ahead. Like they're number 4, number 5 teams. I think I had them number 5. I have them behind the Spark at this point. You're not going to climb up any further by doing like cheeky strats against people.
I feel like a lot of Surefour though is just more on the stage maps because there are a lot more bunker potential this stage.
Yeah. I mean, you saw when they played the Titans, Paris was a big map with I believe was it Hoxel or Twilight with literally the worst Symmetra placement of the portal of all time. Like it was bad. He spent like 30 seconds trying to place his teleporter.
Which by the way, this is a really random segue. But like I was watching NBoss playing in Diamond, and he was going up against like this monster sim. And I really don't see people doing this, but like apparently, like I honestly didn't even know this because I don't play Symmetra. Like the Symmetra was like putting her teleport down. Well, she was like throwing her turrets down, and then she'd like throw the teleport, and then she'd do the teleport, and it would like bring the turrets to the other side.
Have you not seen that?
No, I never see anyone doing that. But like she would always do it on like the corners when like the supports were like trying to hide.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, that's a trap.
I actually see that. That is like, that's gold level play right there.
Well, like I've seen it more with like people teleporting like bastions, but not actual turrets.
Oh no, I've seen it with turrets so much, and the crap elo hell I'm in. Like it's as common as Junkrat running to the opening doors and placing his trap, being like, I'm gonna get them.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is I just don't see enough Symmetra.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's actually quite common. I see it fairly often, where people do that. It's just like it's the unexpected because like you can get you teleport the turrets through, and they may concentrate on the teleporter, but the teleporter isn't the turret. So like they're killing the teleporter, but the turrets are already through and doing damage.
And then if you have aim assist, it's probably not locking onto them anyway.
Flippin' console plebs. But no, it was one of the better weeks of Overwatch I've seen because there were blowouts, but they were unexpected blowouts that you didn't expect to see that made it so much better. Like New York 4-0 London Spitfire. Everyone predicted this was the match of the week. This is going to be an amazing match. New York 4-0s. The Valiant 4-0 the Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like, no one expected that. 4-0 Spitfire 4-0 Boston. We didn't expect that either. Up until the last two maps, the Titans Gladiators game was awesome.
Right.
The last two maps of that series,
Brick
though,
wall.
ooh, that was
wow.
bad. That was real bad. The Gladiators almost broke the Mayhem record for most times dying without getting a kill themselves. They were 5 kills away. Like, one team wipe would have put them over the mark of, like, I think it was 46 deaths without a single kill. So yeah, let's not go there. But like, you saw so many lopsided games that were unexpected that it made it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And some upsets that a lot of people like didn't see coming. So I don't know. It was a great week of Overwatch. I hate the fact that Thursdays and Fridays start so late.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the last game starts at 11 o'clock at night for me. That sucks. So, what was the one team that surprised you the most this week, though?
Oh, it was definitely the Charge. Like, just seeing Nero on stage for the first time and the impact that he had, and just the heroes that he brought, was really exciting. And I was just really happy to see Hanzo play. Like, we normally just don't get to see it, like, at all, but we are starting to see a little bit of double sniper comps from time to time, which I'm really happy to see. But looking ahead, obviously this week we have Stage 3, week number 2. Our game of the week, which of course is the first game on Sunday, is between the San Francisco Shock and our soulmates on the Seoul Dynasty. Whether it's Team A, B, C, Q, I don't know. It could be any number of things. Like, who knows? I will hope for the best, hope they run the Stage 2 lineup, and hope that they could, maybe take a map or two. But who knows? But looking at the field, on Thursday we have the Outlaws versus the Shock, Dragons versus Rain, Fuel versus Hunters, and Spark versus the Titans. Now, Ed, okay, the Spark. Trajectory sky high.
They're a top
they
4
are
team
on
right
the
now.
rise. They are definitely playing like a top 4 team. Spoilers, we do have them ranked 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and which they should be at right now.
They are feeling it. Now the problem is, now they have to come to play. Like, they are going up against the Titans. So, their second match this week, Washington. Okay, that's a bye week, free win.
Yep.
No matter how much Corey's going to try.
They still have Janice.
Yeah, they still have Janice.
They still have Janice.
I'm not too worried. But this is going to be the true test for the Spark. Now, we have seen the Spark have put up fights against some of the playoff teams, but we have yet to see that against like a team like the Titans or the Shock. So, what do you think the Spark are going to need to do heading into what will be that tough test this week?
Well, I think the only shot the Spark have at winning is running Winston Goats and almost forcing the hand of the Titans to switch off of Reinhardt Goats over to Winston Goats. That's the only shot they have. Because, I mean, if it's Bumper versus Gu Shui in a Reinhardt off, Bumper's better. If you're going, Winston off, Gu Shui's better. Like, Gu Shui's top 2. Winston's in the league.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at their support line, I actually consider their support line to be pretty similar in talent. Like, Twilight probably a little bit better than Bebe, but like Bebe and IDK are a top-notch support team. Janu and Rhea like are both have the capability to just control a game. So it's really going to kind of come down to if they can get the Titans to play Winston Goats and if Godsby is better with his ultimates than he has been. Godsby is one of those, I'm great on Zarya, but I'm crap with my ultimates. Like placement of the ultimates and timing of my ultimates. If they can clean up those two things, they have a shot. I don't think the Spark are going to win. Like, I am a Spark fan, favorite team. I'm also a realist. Like, they have a shot, but they have like a 20% shot of winning. And so it's real small. A lot of things have to work in their favor for that to happen, because you're going up against, best or second best team, who depends on who you talk to, and it's not even close with the two top teams. So I think the Titans are going to pull this one away, but the Spark have actual, like, at least semi shot of beating the Titans.
Yeah, what I love about this week's schedule is there are a lot of matches kind of like between the mid-table teams. So, we got like Dragons versus the Reign. You have like, I was gonna say, the Uprising Outlaws, but Outlaws are bottom of the barrel at this point. You have like Charge of Valiant. You have, trying to see what else. Fusion Uprising is another really good one. Like, that's going to be a very telling match. You made the claim recently on Around the Payload that a certain Academy team, this one, the Fusion University, was better than the main roster. And I am never going to fight you on that, like, for one. But Fusion, as a whole lately, like, they've just kind of, I don't want to say, like, they've lost their identity, but, like, their 3-3 to me just seems so uninspired. And there's just, like, not really anything that stands out right now. Like, Carpe has not been a good Zarya. His stats are near the bottom of the Overwatch League, so, like, they're not getting the carry from Carpe. EQO has just been brick jailed. He's not getting to play DPS. Sato has been dying a lot. Boombox honestly hasn't been, like, popping off like we're used to seeing from him. And the Philadelphia Fusion are basically kind of like in this free-falling state where we're almost starting to rule them out of, like, that play-in tournament. Like, they seem to have weeks where they just completely flounder, and it's been happening more times than not as of late. So, if Boston can put them through the ringer, that might be the final nail in the coffin at this point, if I'm being honest.
I mean, let's be real here. The Fusion, these next 2 weeks will decide their fate. Because if you look at it, they 100% can go 0-4 to start the stage. Because this week, all right, they play the Gladiators. Well, Gladiators are heavily favored in that matchup.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Fusion versus Boston Uprising, probably a coin flip. Let's just say that. It's 50-50. And then next week they play Atlanta. Like, they start 0-4. They're a bottom tier team. Like, they are below the Charge. They are below the Hunters. Like, they're a bottom tier team, and it's not because there's not skill on the team. It's because they're just god dang horrible at 3-3. Because, like you said, Carpe does not play Zarya well. EQO is probably one of the worst bigots in the league. Sato is Sato. Uh, Poco, Poco, he's a fan favorite, but he's not that good of a diva. He's really not. He made a name for himself because he got Poco bombs. Well, you know what? You're not getting those Poco bombs that much in 3-3. Uh,
Well,
so
really, not that many people are. Like, if we're being honest.
exactly. But if that's what you made your name on and that's what you relied on, and you can't get it in 3-3,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not going to be that good. And Boombox and Neptuno are just like meh at this point because they just don't feel comfortable with this. Like they're probably a bottom six team, and it's going to take 2 losses this week for us to kind of realize it.
Man, if only, like, we could look ahead at season 3, and, like,
When they're going to have an
they
amazing
they
team.
had this, like, support duo that they could, like, bring in to kind of bring a new leadership onto the team with Elk and Alarm.
And then, oh god, you could bring in Elk and Alarm. You could bring up Who Are You?
Well, I don't know if they're going to bring up Who Are You since he's still not playing with them.
Yet. And then you had that tank line from them who could. Their tank line for Fusion University is better than the tank line they have at Philadelphia Fusion. Let's be real here. Like the only 2 people that next year that I think are guaranteed spots are Carpe and EQO.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the 4, as said, and it's not anything against Boombox and Neptuno because they're good. They'll start on another team. But when you have Alarm and Elk, who will be 2+ years playing together as a dominant force on the support line,
And we'll have 6 championships to their name.
yeah, like you start them over Boombox and Neptuno. And everything that's happening this season is just validating me from season 1. And when I just had zero faith in the Philadelphia Fusion.
It took a while to play out, Ed, but it's finally coming around.
I was like, finally, it's legit real.
Yeah. Now on the other hand, there is one other team that I do want to take note of, and that is Paris Eternal. Paris Eternal this last week looked pretty damn good, and there's this feeling in the back of my mind, Ed, that I was like, are they giving me false hope? Like, I've seen this before, right? Like, you know, we got an EU team coming in. It's a 3-3 meta. They're gonna be one of the best 3-3 teams in the league, and then they kind of just crap the bed after the first couple of games. And then this week, you look at their schedule. They face New York Excelsior. Yikes. Game 2, they face Florida Mayhem. So, you know, you're probably more times than not looking at a split week. They're gonna go 1-1. But it's just like we've seen Danye this past week really, I want to say, like, in regards to his overall performance, it really was like a superstar caliber performance, and whether or not he's going to be able to do that against a team like NYXL, that seems very unlikely. But I want to say, like, I was very impressed with Eternal. Outside of the Charge, that was the other team that really stood out here in Stage 3, Week 1.
Yeah, like, I'm going to float my own boat here. Is before Season 2 started, everyone was talking about Shadowburn and Soon as the DPS players. And every time, but like every time we talked about it, I was like, about Paris, I was like, okay, keep an eye out for Danye. Keep an eye out for him. He should start. He should be playing. And they're finally playing him. Like, yes, they have Soon, they have Shadowburn. Those are name-only players.
Mm-hmm.
When did they look their best? When neither Soon or Shadowburn played.
Right.
Both their Zaryas are just bad. You have Nico and you have Danye, who is probably your best DPS lineup for this comp, working well for you. Gray and Cruz are, I will say this about Paris, as much as I trash talk them, Cruz and Gray are a top 5 support lineup in Overwatch League. Like, they're amazing together. And Gray is ridiculous. I'm so happy they're playing Gray over Hip. Hip, whatever. You're not playing anymore. I don't need to know your name. They have no tank line. Truly, they need to improve that a little. But they're on the up and up. So maybe they can sign some of those EU players that suck against NA teams from contenders and get a little better. But they're definitely on the up and up. I can see them creeping up into the 8, 9, 10, 11 region in the standings and getting in to at least compete to play in the the season playoffs if they keep this up, because starting off 2-1 in stage 3 is actually not that bad. So that's assuming they split New York and Florida,
right? And we basically know, like, basically the cutoff point for stage playoffs has been 4-3.
Yeah, exactly. So you start off 2-1, you're in good position to at least even make the stage playoffs. So Paris is an interesting team. You're right. Gray is the superstar of that team, I think, and Cruz is the unheralded superstar of that team, and the rest are just starting to really shine once you get the high priced big name players out of the way that aren't good anymore, at least in this meta.
Yeah,
Shadowbear needs to be
he needs to go back to play with the puppies.
He needs to not play anymore. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of you Shadowburn fans. He's played on 2 Overwatch League teams, and he's been benched on 2 Overwatch League teams. At that point, you're not Overwatch League talent. You're just not. Like, he got benched in a Genji meta. As a Genji
as
player.
A prominent hero.
Like, that should have been the first sign, like, ooh, this is awkward. But yeah, you're done. So I don't know. Paris has a lot of work to do, but they need to get a whole new tank line to really take that next step. But they can't do anything at this stage. So it will be interesting. Watch they beat New York. That'd be hilarious.
They pull in Atlanta.
Like,
play
they
up
beat
and then they'll lose to the Justice.
Like, they still go 1-1 this week. They beat New York
Or
but lose
the
to
Mayhem,
Mayhem.
I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, we got it right. We just had the wrong team switched. Awkward.
Yeah, they prepped for one of the teams. Just a not winnable game to actually come out on top. But with that being said, we are hovering around that 2-hour mark. So let's go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, one of the best things to do is to go leave us a review over on iTunes or your podcasting app of choice. Any sort of feedback or constructive criticism is always welcome, just because that will offer us insight on how we can make for a better listening experience for you. And I will note, we do have a new review, a new Canadian review even. Which,
and it doesn't even bash me.
It doesn't, which is...
I haven't been on the Canadian hate train in a while.
Blame Canada.
Blame Canada.
Well, anyways, this is a 4-star iTunes review from Kaiser_OW. Probably no relation to the player. But, he's probably an Apex Overwatch fan. And he has good taste in players, so I appreciate that. He says, "Alright, so." That's a weird way to start it, but whatever. I'll ignore that. Really good stuff, you guys. I've been listening for 20-plus episodes, and I have noticed some things that I myself have some issues with. And, he kind of goes on about poking fun at some of the other reviews, which I'll ignore. He says, "You guys play well off of each other, and I enjoy and look forward to the episodes every week. But one thing I've noticed is that Ed's microphone cuts out quite frequently. Now, quickly, I will note, Ed and I actually looked into this. So, Ed, why don't you just quickly say what the issue was that was kind of causing that? Because it primarily was happening more so when you were more frequently talking consecutively.
So what the issue actually, once we really researched it, it was actually a Discord issue. Um, it has a specific setting to automatically catch your voice in Discord. And if you go below a certain volume that's preset, it will kind of cut out in and out. And what I've learned is a lot of people don't have that automatically set. They have it manually set. So all I had to do was take it off automatic and switch it to manual and lower the sensitivity. So if I, start talking a little quieter than normal or something like that, it would actually still catch it. And that has, ever since I did that, I have not had an issue with any of that. Like, this is the kind of constructive reviews that, help us. Just saying, hey, you suck. All right.
Cool.
Cool. Constructive criticism is always very much appreciated, and it's stuff like this. Like, I appreciate this. Like, when they said this review, it was one of those things of, hey, I should look into this because somebody else had said something about this. Well, it has to be an issue that's going on with my mic, and then once we figured it out, then it's not a non-issue, and then we can make a better listening experience. Right. So, this is the kind of constructive criticism we want.
Yeah.
If you ever leave reviews just saying you suck or you're horrible, is not a review. That's trolling. Like, reviews are meant to make you get better. This is the kind of review that helps you get better.
Yeah, and the other thing that Kaiser_OW did put in here, outside of some of the other stuff that we just had discussed, he says another thing is, this is not always an issue, but when it does happen, it is allowed. So our keyboard click is almost louder than some of the voices. It's not a common issue for him, but he thought he would bring it up. Okay, now the thing with this one is, and this is another thing that we can address, there are kind of two things to this. One is if our mic mute doesn't actually work. There's been a couple of instances where the program didn't update, and it causes it not to work. So, like, normally Ed and I will both run mic mute. It will be hotkey based, and if we just hit it, it'll mute our mics both in Discord. And, because of that, it also won't get picked up by the desktop audio when I'm running OBS. Now, there's that, and then there's also, there have been more times than not lately where I just decide to edit the Twitch VOD audio, which I stopped doing, as of this week. So we're back to editing the individual files for the audio. So, like, we'll have the two separate tracks. You'll have my raw track, you'll have Ed's raw track, and that stuff is going to be completely negated and gone at this point. So, it's primarily just the Twitch audio that you'll hear it, and that's the reason for that. But we're working on it. It should overall make for a crisper experience for the audio listeners that are listening via the podcatchers. So Kaiser_OW, I do want to thank you again for this review. This is what we like to see, because this is something that we could immediately take action and fix. So we thank you so much for that, and hopefully we'll get more reviews like this moving forward.
I will say this. Yes, sometimes we forget to mic mute while we keyboard click, though. We're humans, though. Like, sometimes you're like, oh, I hit that. And then you look up, you're like, oh, crap, I didn't mic mute. Who cares?
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like, if my mic mute isn't working, and I'm hosting, right? So I'm the one streaming. So if I want to mute myself, I basically have a lot of things on one monitor, and then Discord and the webcam stuff all on the other one. So if I want to mute myself, let's say I don't have mic mute up, I have to click off of the web browser, which has, my show notes, obviously. Click on OBS, click again to mute my mic, which you're going to hear again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll hear it again when I unmute. That's basically it. But, it's an easy thing to fix. The raw files should be fine. And, the editing honestly doesn't even take that much longer doing it that way. It was more of an issue for our Fantasy Overwatch League podcast, just because I do that. We do the Twisted Tuesday movie stream where we watch 2 scary movies, and then that usually ends at, 1 o'clock, and then I have to edit the podcast, and with 4 people on that show in particular, it takes a lot longer to edit 4 individual files than just the one from the Twitch VOD. So I'll figure out what I'm going to do with that, but we do appreciate the review nonetheless. And of course, if you want to find OWL by the numbers, or any number of different Overwatch-related podcasts, you can do so at Overwatch Recall, which is available on our website. We do every Sunday night release the Weekly Recall, which is the episodic listen of all the recent releases from your favorite podcasts that are Overwatch-related. So to stay up to date on that, you can visit it on our website at owlnshow.com/OWRecall. That will be where the directory is. And then if you want to find the episodic listings, that will usually be linked on our Twitter at OWRecall. Now, if you guys want to support us further, you can do a couple of things. You could throw us your Twitch Prime sub, hopefully without missing a month.
Shut your hole. I missed a month. It was my 11-month anniversary.
And you messed it up.
I missed a month.
You messed it up. So you can do that, and then you could also consider pledging to us on Patreon. So we have tiers starting at just $1 a month, and you can find more information at patreon.com/OWL Network. So you too can join the likes of our Master and Above patrons, Blazing Bob, Brendan, Josabal, and Owl. I think Gabby's in there. Well, we know what the pronunciation is now, so he doesn't
I'm
need to
still gonna
correct
call
us.
him Jay-Z.
Well, he can explain to you about that later. And Gabby in helping our network grow. So we appreciate all of the support there. And you know what? We also have a community event coming up this week, actually, on Saturday. That is Saturday, June 15th, for our community game night. We will kick things off at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So join us for a night full of shenanigans, custom games, workshop modes, all of that good stuff. So, of course, we'll be streaming the games on our channel.
You get to shoot me as many times as possible.
Infinitely. Basically.
Except if we play Super Smash Brothers, because I might set that one out.
Okay. Well, either way, hop in our Discord. We'll all be chatting in there. We'll have game night lobby set up there, and we hope that everyone comes out and joins us, and hopefully, Ed will get a couple of kills in gun game. Who knows? I'm not gonna be set too lofty of how well he's going to do.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be aiming for one person and one person only. Ice Ham Jello. I'm coming for you. No particular reason why you, except your name.
Okay.
I like your name, and I feel like I want to kill you.
Well, with that being said, of course, we have a number of different ways how you can get a hold of us on our network, on social media. So, Ed, why don't you take the reins of that one?
All right. Well, you can reach us through email, and that's at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are also on Twitter at hndoverwatch. We do have a website where we post all of our shows, our YouTube content, all that fun stuff, and that's owlnshow.com. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/Overwatch League Network, which also has all our VODs posted on there. We are on Discord, and that's discord.me/OWLNshow, which you will need to be a part of to participate in our game night this upcoming Saturday, so make sure you join. We are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. We are a Twitch affiliate, so help support the show by subscribing to our channel every month, and don't forget a month, and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly, so on Mondays, at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have the Overwatch League Network. On Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, we have our fantasy show, OWL show, OWL by the Numbers. On Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, we have this show, Heroes Never Die. And then host streams, when available, will fall on Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific with Totemly Drunk hosting, which might be more Overwatch or Warcraft than Overwatch coming up because we might level some characters live on Twitch. And then Spider tends to stream Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, but you can get all that by joining our Discord and learning when we go live. As Totem previously mentioned, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/OWL Network. So come over there, help us out. Tier start at just $1 a month. You can contact me personally on Twitter at Edanar Overwatch. That's EDANAR Overwatch. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I am over on Twitter at TotemlyDrunkCTR, where you can find me calling out Ramses, thinking that last night's OWL by the Numbers was the shortest one to date, when it was in fact the second longest. Among some other things. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank everyone again for hanging out with us tonight on another episode of Heroes Never Die. We appreciate everyone that stopped by for our live show, and thanks to all of our audio listeners listening via the podcatchers. This has been episode number 164. I've been your host, now that my eyes aren't bugging me like yesterday, Totally Drunk, joined as always by my co-host Edanar, and we will see you guys back next week, or actually even Saturday, for our game night.
We'll see you Saturday.
Come out Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. Be there, or don't. But be
I was
there.
really expecting you to say be there and be square. And I was like, oh, don't be that guy.
I'm not
Don't
that
be
guy.
that
It's not
guy.
happening. But anyways, take care. We'll see you then, Saturday, 7 p.m.
Have a good one.